So beautiful to be together. And again, if it does start to rain, feel free to come up. ये आवाज़ थोड़ा सा ठीक कर दो, है ना? Feel free to come up here. We begin as usual with भैया आवाज़ है ना? किसी को कुछ, maybe Karen or Claudine, you could go help them with the sound? Thanks. The normal guy who does it isn't here today. So we'll start with बारिश, बहुत बढ़िया, beautiful rain. आप सभी अंदर आइएगा. Yeah, अंदर आइएगा. Everybody can come close. Come close. Come close. आप थोड़ा सा पीछे हट सकते हैं ना? थोड़े से. देखो आपको cover है ना उसके ऊपर. cover है. उसके ऊपर नहीं आएगा भैया. वो cover है ना, छत है आपके. बस ये ठीक है. Beautiful. Our first very auspicious rain of the season. And if you can just turn that off. Thanks. Beautiful. So we start with a question that has come in advance, and then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. The universe has given us a beautiful opportunity to be very cozy. And yeah, of course, if you want to sit in the rain, feel free to sit in the rain. I would do that. If I didn't have electrical equipment on me, I would be very happy to sit over there. I am lost, and I am losing interest in life. I am lost and losing interest in life. I want to realize God, but I can't find Him. Why is God so difficult to find? And why is the process to find Him so difficult? Your loss of interest is actually what is keeping you from finding God. When we feel like there is no point, इसका बढ़ा दो भैया थोड़ा सा ना, तो ज़्यादा जोर से बोलना पड़ता. When we've lost interest, when we feel like there is no point, that's when we can't find God. Because we have gone far from God. लोग कहते हैं कि भगवान मेरे से दूर हो गया, लेकिन भगवान कहीं नहीं गए, हम दूर हो गया. We have gone far from God, not the other way. And when we lose interest, when we've decided there is no point, then we lose that connection. There's a beautiful story of a man who is searching and searching for God. Running here, running there. Finally gives up. Forget it. Nothing's going to happen. I'm never going to find God. And he collapses under this tree on the banks of the river, just bemoaning his state. I will never find God. God is too far away. There's no point. And at that moment, out of the river, a fish jumps up. And the fish in the air is flapping back and forth, and the fish is saying, water, water. I'm going to die without water. I need water. And the man is just watching. And finally he says to the fish, he says, you silly fish, you are surrounded by water. You were in the water, in the river. There's nothing but water around you. But you've jumped up out of the river. Now you're flapping around in the air, screaming for water. Just go back in the water. It's all there. And the fish says to the man, it's the same thing for you. He says, you are surrounded by God. There is nothing but God. And in your case, even there's nothing but God in you. I'm just surrounded by water, but in me is not water. But you are surrounded by God. In you is nothing but God. But here you are flapping around, looking for God. Just go back inside. So God is not hard to find. The problem is our mind pulls us away. Our mind pulls us out of the moment. And when we're not in the moment, we can't be with God. If I'm not here, if my body is here, my breath is here, but my mind is gumurahe like the monkeys, God is still in me. God is still around me, but I don't have the access to God. In order to have that access, that awareness, I have to be here. We are the ones who pull ourselves away. We allow ourselves to get distracted. We're very distracted. I mean, even just you see sitting in satsang, somebody will cough, somebody will sneeze, somebody's phone will gently vibrate, and suddenly all eyes are right there. Now you think, really? You've never heard somebody sneeze? You've never heard somebody cough? Like it's that interesting a thing to pull all of your attention? But this is how hulky our attention has become. I see it all the time. In arti, in satsang, in katha, we are in these beautiful spiritual moments where we have nothing to do in that moment but to just, we are looking for some excuse to be distracted. Somebody comes in, they're looking for a place to sit down. 90% of the heads are watching the person find a place to sit down. Like, really? That interesting? Kahin to bed jayenge, they'll figure it out. But it tells you a lot about the power of our mind. And if I'm that easily distracted by somebody I don't even know, coughing or sneezing or coming in or going out, how am I ever going to maintain anchored awareness long enough to experience God? Where am I ever going to find the physical location in which the wind doesn't blow, birds don't sing, Flies don't land on my nose. Nobody ever enters or leaves or coughs or sneezes. Where are you going to find a place for any kind of time that's like that? You won't. The only place has to be within ourselves. And that's actually why I love India as a place that people come to learn yoga and meditation. Because it's really loud. It's really busy. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of chaos. But India gives us this extraordinary opportunity to find what Pujya Swamiji calls noiselessness amidst the noise. Peace amidst the chaos. Because once you can meditate in India, amidst the noise, amidst the chaos, well then that's yours. That power is yours. And it goes with you anywhere. But if I can't be here now, if my mind is so easily distracted by what's happening next to me, around me, in the sky, here and there, I lose the opportunity for actually everything that matters, not only to connect with God, to connect with myself, to experience truth, to experience love. I mean, you're sitting with a loved one. This is one of the great tragedies of today. You're sitting with a loved one in that beautiful presence of love. And every 2 seconds, one of you is looking at your phone. Now, I'm not saying don't be on your phone, don't work, don't be attentive. By all means, do it. We have to. But there should be moments. There should be time in which we make very concerted efforts not to be distracted. Like, I am not going to let myself be distracted. I'm not going to let my attention go. And so when we say God is hard to find, the problem is we are nowhere. God is where God has always been. But we are not in line to connect. It's like if Preeti holds out her arm to me beautifully for me to grab on, and I'm focused and attentive, I'll very easily be able to grab onto her hand. But if I'm all over the place and my arms are doing this, well, her hand is there, but I'm not able to grab it. If my head is doing like this and I'm doing right, well, I can't even see where her hand is. My eyes aren't working. My center of focus is off. I'm dizzy. There's no alignment. So she's there. Her hand is there. But I can't grab it. God hasn't gone anywhere. God is not difficult. We've become difficult. But the beautiful thing is, the minute that you decide, this is what I want to pay attention to, you can. I mean, think about it. Let's say you are watching a movie or a TV show or a video on social media, whatever it is, you're watching something. You're really engaged, really, really super engaged in whatever you're watching. Well, you're not going to be distracted. Doesn't matter what's happening. You are. This is the plight parents have these days, is I can't get my kid's attention. Right? The kid is so engrossed In whatever is happening in the device, I cannot get my kid's attention. Well, your kid is attentive, just attentive to something different, not where you want the attention to be. We have great power of attention. We've just put it on something else. We've put it on scrolling our social media feed or watching a video or watching a movie or whatever it is. So just decide, what do I want to pay attention to? What do I want to focus on? And in the same way that when you're watching a movie, you are filtering out everything else. Somebody around you's having a conversation, but you're not listening. Got your earbuds in or your headphones on. You're not listening. You're filtering it out. In the same way, if finding God is what you want to be attentive to, you're going to have to filter out other things. You're going to have to put on your metaphoric earbuds and headphones to train yourself to be attentive again. But you can do it. And the beautiful thing is, God is always there. God never gives up. Never says, Cello, I've been waiting, you didn't show up, forget it. But we just need to really pay attention and really make it a focus and really go with love. That love for God. Does anyone here have a question? Yeah. They'll just give you a mic.
Thank you. My name is Vijay. I'm here from Mumbai. We chanted today, Tvameva Mata, Pita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhu, Sakha Tvameva. So, Tvameva Vidya, etc. So, God as mother, God as father, Mata, Pita, Bandhu. I'm most interested in the relationship with God as Sakha. I would love for you to say something about that relationship, the relationship with God as Sakha, the close one, the dear friend.
So, it's a beautiful mantra. Of course, we are told, Tvameva Mata, Chapita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhu, Chasaka Tvameva. You are the mother, the father, the guru, the friend. You're everything. It's the grace of God, I think, that God is so prepared to be anything for us. And of course, these are not the only options that this mantra gives us. It's not only mother and father and friend and acharya, guru, but it's anything. I mean, in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says, in whatever form the devotee worships me, I appear to the devotee in that form, any form, however you want me. So in terms of God as a friend, it's a beautiful relationship. I mean, we've got, right, Arjuna and Bhagavan Krishna. And it's this grace of God that says, if you want to see me as your friend, No problem. Like, I don't have an ego issue about it. Otherwise, you think I'm God. Right? No, you can't call me buddy. You look at our egos, right? How many of us, somebody says, Hare Yard, like, Hare, don't come, I'm not your yard, I'm not your friend. Call me sir. Right? There's such an ego that we have. Like, who are you calling buddy? I'm older than you, I'm your boss, don't you know who I am? Speak to me with respect. But God is saying, call me buddy, no problem. No problem. Because the point is that we feel God inside of ourselves. And we all have different relationships. So for a lot of people, our relationships with our parents are beautiful, uncomplicated, not dysfunctional at all, very beautiful. We were raised by parents who were beautifully spiritual, really just loving us unconditionally, embodiments of spirituality. And so for people like that to think of God as the mother or the father, who always was there unconditionally, loved you no matter what, 24 hours a day. It's a beautiful way to think of God as this parent. But for a lot of people, relationships with the parents were not quite so uncomplicated. And for a lot of people, issues of God as the Father carry a lot of baggage. So a lot of people who are like, you know what? That just doesn't work for me. God as a parent doesn't work for a lot of people. There are people for whom God is their child. Right? God is even happy, forget just buddy. You want to call me Beta? No problem. Could you imagine? Could you imagine someone 20, 30 years your junior calling you my child? You're like, honey? You'd put them in their place. But look at God, ready to be carried around in a little basket, fed, cared for, dressed, undressed, in the child form, with that love of the mother. God is ready to be the child to a mother. So when God says, yeah, the friend, for a lot of us, that close friendship is actually the safest relationship. Maybe there have been some complications with the mother or the father. Maybe we don't really subscribe to the idea of a guru or of, that type of a disciple relationship. Everybody's got issues with different things. Religion has created kind of, it's become a buzzword for a lot of people. Unnecessarily. So God is like, no problem. Father's a trigger for you? Fine, don't think of me as a father. Mother's a trigger for you? No problem, don't think of me as a mother. Guru is a trigger for you? No problem. But friend? Well, friend, you get to choose your own friends. Friends are just there for you all the time. Real friends. All the time. They love you when you're up. They love you when you're down. You fail, you succeed. Your friends are always there. That's actually how we know a true friend, right? We have all of those beautiful idioms of when you fail, when you lose your money, when you are publicly humiliated, that's when you know who your real friends are. Because everybody else gets out of the way. What do they say? Like rats from a sinking ship. Those were clearly not your right friends. But the real friends stay with you. So God is saying, no problem. You want to think of me as that real friend all the time with you? No problem. But then, of course, at some point, that friend shows you who he, she, it really is. Because sometimes we also get lost in just, oh yeah, he's just my pal. Like Arjuna and Krishna. So sometimes God then realizes, all right, now is the time not to be quite so buddy-buddy. He really needs to listen to me right now. But up until then, other than then, before then, after then, God is happy to just be with you. The bottom line is, whatever relationship works for you, have that relationship with God. Any relationship. Just be with God. Because so many people sadly have turned off of God because they've turned off of religion. Because in whatever reason, somehow, something in religion has turned them off in some way. And so sadly, they end up pushing God away because they have pushed religion away. And so God says, no problem. Let me just be your friend. You don't want to do the whole ritual song and dance? No problem. But don't run away from me. Beautiful. You be the friend too. Yeah. Remember me. Stay with me. I won't let you down. You don't let me down. So it's a very special and beautiful relationship to also have. Yeah, of course. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes.
प्रणाम। मेरे मन में एक जो प्रश्न है उसके दो पार्ट है। पहला ये है कि संन्यास लेना क्यों जरूरी है, क्योंकि स्वामी जी बोलते हैं कि सेवा करो, तो सेवा तो गृहस्थों के भी की जा सकती है। और जब संन्यास लेते हैं तो सन्यासी अगर पहाड़ों में जाके कहीं गुफा में रह के मेडिटेशन या ध्यान उसमें साधना करते हैं तो कोई बात नहीं, पर जब वो भी सेवा करने आते हैं तो एक नया संसार खड़ा शुरू हो जाता है। वहाँ काका गुरु, दादा गुरु, गुरु माँ, यानी वो भी सब रिलेशंस तो आ ही जाते हैं। और बहुत सारा जो संसार में प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं वो उधर भी आते हैं, आश्रम्स में भी सब। तो संन्यास लेना क्यों जरूरी है? और दूसरा पार्ट कि आपने संन्यास क्यों लिया?
So, in short, she asked, why do we need to take sannyas? So sannyas is the monastic renunciation in the Hindu tradition. It's what you see mostly wearing saffron. Some lineages it's white, but in most of them it's the saffron color. She said, Pujya Swamiji says, do seva, serve the world. But you can do seva as a householder. You don't have to be a sannyasi, a renunciant, monastic. She said, I understand if you're going up and living in the caves. But if you're not, if you're here in the world, as a sannyasi, then don't you end up getting caught up in all kinds of other drama and stories around that, around your role as a sannyasi, as a guru. And then she said the second part is, why did I take sannyas? So first of all, there's no need to take sannyas. Pujya Swamiji is very clear that whatever your dharma is, in that dharma, you should be doing seva. Whether you are in your brahmacharya phase of life सारे ऋषि कुमार सेवा कर रहे हैं. Right? He's not telling them पहले संन्यास ले लो. Right? उनमें से कुछ लोग तो आगे जाके most likely थोड़ी सी लोग संन्यास तो लेंगे. But I think the majority of them गृहस्थी जीवन जिएंगे. So Pujya Swamiji says every ashram, brahmacharya ashram, grihastha ashram, vanprastha ashram, in all of the phases of life, seva is the thread that runs through them all. So no, you do not have to take sannyas in order to do seva. However, when you are in a householder life, the dilemma is that there's a lot of other calls on your attention. And so being fully engrossed in seva, because remember, seva is not only action. No, we chant in the morning, Mukh mein ho Ram naam, Ram seva hath mein. Let God's name be on your lips. Let God's work be on your hands. So the seva is happening in our hands, but the lips are chanting God's name. Now, if you're in a family and you've got lots of people trying to talk to you, wanting different things, you've got to give them answers, you've got to oversee them. It's very hard to keep your lips always chanting God's name. Right? You've got to be talking to this one, talking to that one, doing this, overseeing that. So, if your goal is simply to be as absolutely immersed in surrender to God, in seva, in sadhana, as you can, then obviously you would want to have as few encumbrances, as few other obstacles as possible. However, neither Pujya Swamiji nor any real guru who I have met or heard of would ever suggest or even agree that someone with family dependence, children who are dependent, a spouse who is dependent, should leave them and take sannyas. The instruction is always, let your seva of them be your seva. मैंने कभी नहीं सुना, चाहे पूज्य स्वामी जी से, चाहे कोई भी सच गुरु की मुँह से. चलो, encouragement बहुत दूर की बात है, मैंने आज्ञा भी कभी नहीं सुना, क्योंकि काफ़ी लोग पूछते हैं कि मुझे सब छोड़ना है, मेरे को जरा शर्म दे दो, मैं सब छोड़ के आऊँगा. And Pujya Swamiji's first question is always, अच्छा guard में कौन कौन है? Where there are children, where there are dependents, the rule is always take care of them. So you do not have to be a sannyasi in order to do seva. But if you are living in a situation in which there's no one who's actually logistically dependent on you, that doesn't mean they don't want you there. It doesn't mean that they don't have a kind of personal agenda that you will hang around the house, but that they're not actually dependent on you for their food, for the roof over their heads. And if what you are looking for is to go deeper and deeper and deeper into just pure surrender, pure seva, pure sadhana. Well, it certainly helps to get out of a situation where you're constantly being drawn out of yourself into a family drama. Because it's not just the actual obligations, it's the drama. Right? There's a lot of drama in families. And so people may choose to take sannyas when they no longer have dependence in order to free themselves of the mind burden of the drama. Then in terms of living as a sannyasi in the world, yeah, it's a beautiful challenge. I think of it as an opportunity. Absolutely, it's easier to be in the forest. Of course. Absolutely. But as Pujya Swamiji always says, you know, all of the masters, all of the real enlightened masters came back into the world, even after enlightenment. They came back to serve because they realized that their dharma as enlightened beings, aap keval sannyas ke baare mein baat kar rahe ho, and I'm talking about full enlightenment. Because unfortunately, simply wearing saffron clothes does not give you enlightenment. But even after attaining enlightenment, they came back because they realized that their dharma was to serve. Is it more complicated? Of course. But that's ultimately the point. The point is not how can I experience non-attachment when there is no one, nothing around me? How can I experience quiet when there really is no one, nothing around me? But rather, how can I experience it in the midst of it all? Right? There are some lineages, for example, in which their monastic celibates won't even speak to women. They won't even go near them, forget speaking to them. They wouldn't even be close enough that if they did speak, anybody could hear them. That they won't be within hundreds of feet of them. Now that's certain traditions. In my mind, to be celibate in a situation where there's absolutely no opportunity to not be celibate isn't nearly as impressive as being celibate surrounded by opportunity. I mean, I've seen, for example, just taking Pujya Swamiji's example, I've seen, for example, him in situations abroad where young girls, 13, 14, 15, 16, he'll enter a house because he's done so much work abroad with youth, building temples, running youth camps, where he'll enter someone's house and a young girl who hasn't seen him for years and years and years will just in the purity of her heart run up to him. Swamiji, 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 and will give him a huge hug. Now, there's two options. One is you push her away. I'm a monastic celibate. I don't touch women. Get away, get away. Now I need a shower. At which point this young girl now feels dirty, wrong, bad, impure. Now suddenly we're in the purity of her heart, the purity of her mind. She had just been expressing her love for this master who had been such an important role in her youth and she hadn't seen in years. Now suddenly you've actually put impure thoughts in her mind. Now suddenly she's a sex object. Where in her mind she was just an ocean of love and devotion. Now you've pushed her away and you've made her think, oh my God, iska matlab ki ye to man-woman thing ho gaya. Where never she had thought that. And the other option is, as a true renunciate, you see this being as a soul, as love, as the Divine Mother, which is what he does. I mean, Paramahansa Ramakrishna used to bow in pranam to prostitutes. Bow at their feet. Because he saw the Divine Mother in them. Now, that's renunciation. Not to speak anything about other traditions. Every tradition is beautiful and it has its own very deep wisdom and beauty and power. But I mention it because you spoke about sort of the drama around sannyas when you're in the world. And yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to get caught up in drama if that's where your mind goes. But the opportunity is not to let your mind go there. Yeah, other people are having whatever story they're having. But you are the renunciate. It's up to you to see all as soul, as divine being. So, yes, I love the mountains, I love caves, I love being out in nature. But it's really clear that the Dharma is right here, that there's so much to be done. Right here. And in terms of me taking sannyas, it just really happened very naturally. I knew from the beginning that was where I was going. It happened really naturally to me. I was not an abstainer of anything by nature. I was not someone who ever thought that abstinence from anything was ever even a virtue. I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles in the midst of privilege and opportunity and Hollywood and that whole world. And nobody abstained from anything. Whatever it was, didn't matter. Everybody was fully immersed in it. There was no concept even that abstinence, I mean the closest we got to abstinence was fasting in order to squeeze into prom dresses. I mean literally, like that was the beginning and the end of any experience of abstinence on any level that I had experienced was not eating along with all of my friends. Because everyone had bought prom dresses that were like 3 sizes smaller than we were, convinced that we were going to lose all the weight in time for prom. And so nobody ate anything. When I came, it was as though God came through me with a vacuum cleaner. But with one of those vacuum cleaners that's got the attachments that go, like the long kind of tube things that go into every corner and the little sucker things on the end. It was like God came through me with one of those and just sucked out of me desire for anything that was part of that life. From bagels to sex and everything in between. I mean, it was like, here are all of the things that no longer are going to be part of this life that you are living. And God just sucked the desire out. So for me, it was really an incredible experience of grace. It was not an experience of really, really difficult tapas to overcome desire. Yes, there have been moments over the years, and these are moments that have now been published in my memoir for the world to know about. It's like, okay, yes, there are moments where desire arises, fear arises, attachment arises. And this is the incredible benefit of a guru, who you can go to and say, I'm having this thought, I'm having this desire, I'm having this feeling. What to do? And who's not going to make you feel like there's something wrong with you or that you're bad or impure, but is just going to guide you onto the right path and to help you understand that there's a very big space between a thought and an action, right? Those of you who have ever heard Pujya Swamiji speak about grabbing that space between a thought and an action, well, especially in the world of Samyas, that is a critical space. Because sometimes the thoughts arise. But that's when the power of the Guru, the power of grace, the power of sadhana is there to help you grab that space so the thought doesn't become an action. And for me, honestly, those moments, and there were obviously a lot more in the beginning than as the years went by, but those moments were precious. Because they were moments of actually learning specific sadhanas, specific practices, which in the beginning had all just happened by grace. Then it was like, okay, there's actually a science here. There's actually a whole Vedic tradition here of here's what we do with the breath, with the chakras, with the energy, with the attention. How to move it in the body. That changes actually how you think. The idea that your breath, that what you eat, that how you move the energy can actually change how you think, how you feel, was something that had never occurred to me, something I had never known, something I had never thought I needed to know. But through this practice, you learn it. So, for me it was just really, I knew from the beginning this is where I was going. Pujya Swamiji made me wait 4 years to take sannyas. He made me go back to LA, get my parents' permission, the whole thing. But it was never ever, ever about leaving the world. It was about being able to live in the world, but immersed in a life that felt so much richer, so much fuller to me. Lastly, I'll end with this, but when we speak about sannyas, we use words like renunciation, that I have renounced things, meaning I have given them up. I have left behind something of some inherent value which is why renunciation is seen as a great feat. But to me, that was just not how it played out at all. It's not my felt sense experience. My experience has been that that which I've been given is of so much more value than that which I left behind. That those sensory pleasures, those fulfillments of momentary desire, were so superficial and so fleeting, and that what I was offered was an experience of joy and meaning and bliss that was so much deeper and fuller than anything that any possible engagement in any sort of sensory pleasure had ever given me or had ever promised to give me. So for me, it wasn't so much this sense of leaving behind as it was a sense of I couldn't wait to just go deeper and deeper and deeper on this path in order to experience more and more and more of what I was already being given. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your, hopefully a little more rainy evening. Hopefully we'll get some more rain. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world. And so much love to you.